It's a brand new day, let's teach your way. It's time for Musicplay.
Welcome back to the Musicplay Minutes podcast. This episode is also available as a webinar with a handout and a PD certificate. All extra resources, including visual examples mentioned in this episode, can be found at workshops.musicplay.ca. How to make year-end assessments fun. Join Denise as she tackles one of the last big to-dos on everybody's list before the year is over.
Welcome, everybody, to our Wednesday webinar and Wednesday podcast for those who listen to it on the podcast service. I'm Denise Gagne. I'm the creator of Musicplay. I have 4 words that are really, really dangerous in my life. I have an idea. And whenever I use those 4 words, amazing things can happen. Sometimes they're really bad ideas. But Musicplay was one of my better ones, and it's turned into this amazing, incredible website. So I'm going to talk today about easy assessment and making assessment fun for your students. And your handout is the newsletter that I sent out, but I also have lots of musical examples that we're going to use. So there's lots of teachers talking about grading. There's teachers on Facebook that have 12 teaching days left. So they're probably already working on their report cards. In Canada, typically we go to the end of June. So June 29th, June 30th is not all that unusual. So our Canadian teachers have a lot longer to go. But when we're talking about assessments, it really starts at the beginning of the year when you have to decide what's important for you to teach in each grade level. So I made a short list for pre-K. The students will be able to show beat or no beat. And typically for my students, they'll do that through movement. I will play on an instrument. When they hear the beat, they move. When they hear no beat, they stop. They freeze. They freeze in their place. And that tells me that they're listening. They're aware. It's also just a really good exercise for getting them to keep a beat and to listen for when there is no beat. There is an activity in the game section called Beat, No Beat, where students identify in musical examples which examples have a beat, which examples have no beat, and that's another really good activity to use. For pre-K students, kindergarten, grade 1, one of my big things is that they are able to match pitch, and I'll go through lots of ways we can do that. The students will recognize and classify classroom instruments. And pre-K, I do that through using the mystery box. Again, when I come to my hands-on practical examples, I'll do that. I want the students to be able to identify and perform fast-slow, loud-quiet, high-low, smooth separated. I want them to be able to identify same and different phrases and to be able to move to show different sections of the music. And I want them to be able to create, perform, respond, and connect. And it's often, I really found the core arts national standards in the United States to be difficult to put into the assessment piece. But in reality, you can do those national standards pieces in every single activity. You just have to identify yourself the ways that you're getting kids to create and decide if they're creating in complete ways, not so complete, somewhat complete, and or not at all complete. Performing, same. Are they really beginning performers? Are they somewhat confident performers? Are they more confident performers, or are they really excellent performers? I've been seeing lots and lots of photos and videos from the Bunnies musical, and I just love seeing them because to me, the pictures that I'm seeing are showing kids that are really excellent performers. And if you've done a performance with your kids, that can be their performance assessment. You watch the video, you check off the kids that are following you and engaged and doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you have the odd one that's slipping up, and that one would have a different grade. For responding, a lot of that is done, again, through the activities. How do they move to music? Are they responding to the music in an appropriate way or an inappropriate way? And we see both, of course, in our pre-K classrooms. And connecting is connecting to other subject areas, connecting to a variety of cultures. So again, we'll use music that does that. Now, we have on Musicplay Online some really, really good posters that I think provide a really good map for the year. I'm going to take you to Musicplay Online, and I'm going to take you to the lesson planning section, into the overview, and I'm scrolling down to where it says what we will learn. And I always use grade 2. I don't know why, but it just works for me. So I'm going to use grade 2, and this what we will learn poster is, I think, a really phenomenal example of what I want grade 2 students to learn. So I want them to be able to show high, middle, low. I want them to show how melodies go up, down, or stay the same. I want them to sing or read songs that use do, re, mi patterns and mi, so, la patterns. I want them to be able to read quarter notes, eighth rest. I want them to understand ties, half notes, half rests, whole notes, whole rests. This might be ambitious for some of your COVID kids. And if that's the case, that is 100% fine. Just choose the elements at the beginning of the year that you want to get them through. That's what you assess them on. Timbre, speaking, whispering, calling, and singing voices. Adult children's voices, identify classroom instruments. And we show some of the instruments I would expect grade 2s to be familiar with and to be able to classify. Form. They can show phrase form typically by arcing their finger during a phrase, and they can identify phrase form in a simple song like Hot Cross Buns, or they could identify A-B form in a song like Ha Ha This Away, Ha Ha That Away, where there's two clearly different sections. And then elements of music expression, dynamics, and tempo. I want them to begin to learn those terms. You choose the terms at the beginning of the year that you're going to teach. At the end of the year, you assess those. Some of the vocabulary words that you might want to teach the grade 2s. And then at the bottom, I have, again, ideas for create, perform, respond, connect, the national standards. So I love these What We Learn posters. They are found in lesson planning, in the overview. Make sure you're logged in as a teacher, and then you will be able to download and print those out. I've seen bulletin boards this year using those, and I think they are wonderful. So I said something in the newsletter, and I actually saw this on a meme, and I think it's really, really true. Teachers are amazing, and they can do anything. However, even teachers can't do everything. If you only have music for 30 minutes once a week, you can't do everything that's in the curriculum. Even if you have music twice a week for 30 minutes, when you have challenging classes with really difficult behaviors, and I'd say that is a huge percentage of our classes these days, it's often not possible for you to teach everything in the curriculum. We're more concerned with developing the child's self-regulation. We're teaching children how to be good humans as much as we are teaching music. So you can do anything, but you cannot do everything, and keep that in your heads. So again, first steps in planning for assessment. Number 1, you make your plan of what you want to teach. And then at the end of the year, you assess it. In fact, you assess it all year long. But you also want to take a look and find out what your district and school expectations for reporting are. Some lucky teachers don't have to do report cards at all. But if you are one of those that does, find out how many expectations you can report on. And then you have to make some hard decisions. And I can't make those decisions for you. I give you lots of concepts and lots of skills. But ultimately, you are the one that has to make that educated decision about what you're going to report on in your classes. You are going to assess many concepts informally. Just you're with your kids, you're watching, you're seeing who can move appropriately to music, even if you don't report on that. And if it was me, I would be keeping track of those in my class list as well. So informally, but you record even informal things, but at most you report 2 or 3 concepts per term, and the end of the year, maybe a few more, but don't overload yourself. Our teachers are so tired and they're so burnt out this year that you have to make this reporting reasonable, and realistic for your own teaching situation. A question came up in my head because we've provided some really, really good rubrics and checklists on Musicplay Online. And again, those of you who are watching this as a webinar will get to see it. Those of you who are not will have to go to the lesson planning section and find them. So this time I'm going to lesson planning section and I'm going to lesson plans. And off to the right for each grade level is a yellow button called Planning Resources. And these planning resources are a wealth of material for you. So I am looking at Grade 2 Assessment and Tracking Chart. There's a PDF version. There is a Word doc version. So you can actually pull it into your Google Docs and you can edit it. It's an editable document. But I'm going to pull up the PDF because that's a whole lot easier for people to see. And I'll make it as big as I can so that people that are on the webinar have a good chance at seeing it. Now with this for beat and rhythm, I have two options. I have a checklist option, which would be just yes or no. And I have beat rubrics. You will have to make the decision which to use. And much of that decision making is going to be dependent on what your school district requires. So I like to use the checklist. It's quick, it's easy, and I don't fill in everything that I have here at the start of the year. I fill it in as I do it. So the child's names are on the left column, and the first thing that I would assess is, can they tap a beat? Can they step a beat? And I would put that in, and I would mark the date that I had done this assessment, and then it's just, we have a fun action song that we do. I watch the kids. If I really want to make it easy for myself, I am going to line the kids up in class list order. So row 1 would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Row 2, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Row 3, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So that I can just follow them on my class list and see, are they keeping a beat? Check, 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 check. Nope. Check, 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 check. No. So let's look at what I thought would be a really good activity for the keeping of a beat. And I'm going to go to the song list and I'm going to find the song Action Leader. This is a Susie and Phil song. They are wonderful children's artists, performing artists. They are wonderful teachers. They are wonderful educators. They're just really talented people. So this song, you have 4 people. So I am going to be person 1, and then I'll be 2, and then I'll be 3, and then I'll be 4. And I would welcome you to push back from your computer and stand up and do the movement with me. So I'm going to start with clap. I'm sure that you can be an action leader, the best one in the land. And I'm doing a very simple movement, but it's going to be easy for me to assess if they're keeping a steady beat. Person 2 does the movement and you copy me. I'd love it if you turned your cameras on so I could see you doing this. Thank you. Join me. I love it. So that was person 2. Now I'm going to be person 3.
I'm sure that you can be an action leader, the fastest in the land.
Okay, now I'm person 4.
Action leader, I'm sure that you can be an action leader, the best one in the land.
And there's an extra extension. Hey! I love the hey at the end. And the kids really enjoy this song. I've had really good successes with that song over the years. So I'm going to go back to my tracking chart, the one where I opened it up big. So I would put in here beat, probably tap, or even just the word move. And then I would be looking at my kids in row 1, 2, and 3 in the class list order. And I'd be going check, 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 check. You're keeping a beat. That one at the back is not. And typically in an activity like this, most of my kids are successful. So a yes-no checklist actually works really quite well. Looking at the rhythm rubrics. So again, I can use the rubric, beginning, not able to read the rhythm, sometimes, usually, consistently reads the rhythm. Or again, if I've had them since they were babies and they're really good, I could do this as a yes, no, as a checklist. And so for rhythm reading, I would like to take you to the rhythm practice section because that really has some wonderful tools for assessing rhythm reading. So I'm going to go into ta, ti, ti, and rest. I could go further along. If I've taught all these rhythms to my grade 2s, I absolutely can go further. But you have to take your kids where they're at. So if you look, if you're watching the webinar, you can see there's lots of interesting resources here. This Rhythm Hunt worksheet and now flashcards, beautiful new flashcards that you can download that are ta, ti, ti, rest that go with the Rhythm Hunt game. But I love this size of flashcard. It makes me very happy to have these here. And I did that wrong, but that's okay. Those are my new flashcards. I've got echo rhythm, echo body percussion. I'm not going to use those for assessment. I'm not going to use poison rhythm for assessment. I use it for practicing. And the animated play-alongs, I'm not going to use those for assessment. Those are a really good way to experience and learn and practice the rhythms, but not so much for assessment. I could use these flashcard play-alongs, but the best tool to use in this rhythm practice section is rhythm reading assessment. And there's 2 ways you can use this. 1, the rhythm reading assessment is given as a video, and 2, it's given as a slideshow. I like the videos. And I had these made actually after I did a residency in a grade 3 classroom for 10 days. And I wanted the kids to do some rhythm reading for me. And I was going back and forth to the computer too many times. When I was able to put the video on, it was just like this. And the video is 3 minutes long. So in 3 minutes, I can assess my entire class. And they actually like doing this. But if the video makes them anxious, we'll show you the slideshow. So this is a video. 25.
Ready, go.
It's child 1. Ta, ti, ti, sh, ta. Now the second child in the list.
Ready, go.
Ta, sh, ta, ta. They could say it, or you could have them clap it. So whatever you choose to assess, that's your choice. So I found this really effective with 3rd grade. But I've had reports from teachers that keeping up with the video made kids feel anxious, and we got a lot of anxiety going on, not just with the kids, but with the teachers too. So we made a slideshow version of it that allows you to pace it perhaps a little bit better for those kids that are anxious. So now you click through. Okay, I'm going through my first row, or maybe I want to start at the bottom of the list and go up just for a change. So bottom of my list, the Z, ta, ti, ti, sh, ta. Next student, I point them out. Ready, go. Ta, sh, ta, ta. Or they clap it, whichever way they want to. So I do really like these rhythm reading assessments. I did a lot of rhythm dictation with my kids as well. This is 4 beats. If I'm stuck on ta and TT in 3rd grade, in 4th grade, especially if I'm stuck on tas and TTs in 4th and 5th, I would give them the 8-beat reading assessments because it is more challenging. The listen, clap, and say is the practice to get kids ready for rhythm dictation. And I used to play a game with the kids. I'd divide them into 2 groups, and this half would be my allegros, and this half would be my vivaces. And I'd hold up a flashcard. So I'd hold this up. I can't remember whether I said these were the allegros or the vivaces, but we'll say it's the allegros. And I'd go, ready, go. And they would clap it without saying the rhythm names. So they would clap. And then I'd hide the flashcard, I'd turn to the vivace side. They had to say what was clapped. Ti, ti, ta, ta, sh. If they said it, if they clapped it correctly, if this side clapped it correctly, they get a point. If this side said it correctly, they got a point. And usually I could rig it so that the classes were tied by the time they went out for recess. Sometimes took a little bit of encouragement. But this listen, clap, and say exercise is another way to practice it. I really enjoyed the Vivace versus Allegros, and the kids did too. And then they are ready for rhythm dictation. And rhythm dictation, I will never, ever forget the first time that I taught first grade music. I was so bad. I was trained as a high school teacher. I've taught grade 5 to 12 for 5 years. And then when I had my daughter, I went into one school that was K-12. And I had grade 1s for the very first time. I had no clue what I was doing. And I asked the kids to take this piece of paper and pencil, put their name on it, and write from 1 to 10. And I was going to give them 10 rhythm dictation examples. It took 30 minutes to get their names on the paper and the numbers from 1 to 10. Grade 1s can't do that. I have learned since that 4 or 5 examples is all that I need, even for 5th grade. I don't need 10 questions. I need 4 or I need 5 to assess and figure out whether kids can hear a pattern and translate it into translate it into notation. We're talking very high level thinking skills. They're now at the analysis level of Bloom's taxonomy. And that's right next to the very top of the peak is creating. But we're at the analyzing level when we can hear a pattern and we can write it down. I had a little passage I had to transcribe yesterday, and it's still a skill that I'm working at, this transcribing. And I cheated a little bit because I took the recording and I slowed it down to half speed. And then I could really hear clearly what was sung on this recording and transcribe it accurately. So we're asking kids to do something that many, many adults can't do. So again, there's videos here. In this particular case, I don't like the videos. I do like the rhythm reading ones, but I don't like these. With these ones, I would rather just use the PDF version of it. So I have a quarter rest 4-beat rhythm dictation worksheet. And for the teachers, there are 3 different tests given. They've got 5 questions each. And then there is a 4-beat rhythm dictation worksheet with squares and hearts to make it easy for your littles to write the rhythms out that they hear. With older kids, I wouldn't necessarily do this. I would probably just give them that blank piece of paper and expect them to write it out. But littles, they maybe need a little bit more hand-holding. So you can use the worksheets if you wish. And we did make 2 on a page so we can save some paper. Typically what I do, I go into the recycling bin, and there's usually a whole bunch of pieces of paper that are copied on one side and blank on the other. I chop them in half on the paper cutter, and then I've got great huge stacks of paper. I keep a container of pencils, and you can use clipboards. I didn't have clipboards in my classroom. I used hardcover textbooks to write on. So that worked actually really quite efficiently. So for rhythm assessments, I would say the rhythm reading, the rhythm dictation, and then there's tons of ways for you to practice. For assessing the kids, you can use either the checklist or the rubric. And again, I would put what rhythms I'm assessing, the date, there's space here, write the date in, and I would write what I did. If you do use a rubric, they're right here underneath for rhythm. Students 1 is not able to, sometimes able to is number 2, 3 is proficient, and that would be usually reads the rhythm, 4 is an excellent. Okay, let's go on to melodic concepts and checklists or pitch activities. And there's 2 areas here. One is pitch matching when they sing. Can they match that pitch? The other is, can they name solfege in a simple reading song? Can they name pitch letter names if that's what you've been teaching? And typically I teach solfege, K1, 2, 3, and then I transition to pitch letter names in 4 when I start recorder. If you start recorder earlier, you'll probably start transitioning earlier. So here are melodic concepts. if I'm doing grade 2, I'm going to first at the beginning of the year make sure they can show high and low. I do that with a simple song like Engine, Engine. And this is more often an informal assessment than formal, but I could do it as a formal. Again, line the kids up in class list order, observe them, mark the ones who can't. So we would sing Engine, Engine number 9, and I'd have the kids show Engine, Engine number 9, going down the railroad line. Then I would have them do it with their eyes closed. And if I saw this, Engine, Engine number 9, that child isn't understanding which is the high and which is the low. And we would go back to practicing that more. You can practice it with a parachute. You've got those stretchy bands. That's a great way to practice it. A really good way to practice it is simply have the kids hold hands in a circle and raise and lower their hands to show the high and the low sounds. And it drags along the ones that can't figure it out for themselves yet. So they experience it even if they're not able to show it independently yet. So high-low, I would assess their singing within a class, and that would be a song in grade 2 I would probably use early in the year, either national anthem, or I would use Ride in That New River Train, because it's long, it's got a bunch of repetitive verses, or just something that the kids really like. And then I would go down those rows of the kids that are in class list order, and I would listen to them, and I'd see, are they matching the pitch of the kids in the recording? Are they matching the recording? Yes, 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 yes. No. Yes, yes, no. And pitch matching within the class is a little different skill than singing alone. So for singing alone, I do the hello attendance. And of course, all of us dearly love our bo, 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 bo. This would be a fun alternative to hello attendance. You sing back what Bobo sings to you. Again, you have your kids in class list order. Child number 1, bo, bo. Child number 2, bo, bo, bo. Change keys. Child number 3, bo, 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 bo. Child number 4. And see how they do. And the kids love Bobo. If you don't have time to do a whole class today, do half the class, other half of the class the next time. Hello attendance is just that. Hello, Tina. And Tina would sing back, hello, Mrs. Gagne. And that tells me again if they can match. So if you have to do daily attendance in your classes, make it a musical experience. And then we have singing a solo in a game. And we have wonderful guessing games on Musicplay Online. So I will just give you some of my favorites for guessing games. Doggy Doggy is one that all kids know and love. I've done this as young as 3-year-olds, and it's really surprising how well they do. Kids demo video shows how to play it. And this, for some classes, may be a reading song, but because it's got slurs in it, it might be a little tricky. So solo 1 is the guesser, who is at the front of the room, and they sing, who has my bone? And the one I give the bone to, real or imaginary, if I forget to get it out and it's not handy, I might just point and say, you've got the bone. And they sing, I have the bone. And if they sing silly, I have the bone, trying to disguise their voices, I just ask them, I'm doing this to see how well you can match the pitch. Would you please sing it for me again? And then I get them to sing it in a real voice, maybe after the guesser has guessed, so we don't give it away. But that's always a favorite. There is Closet Key has opportunities to sing alone. Someone's tapping. We had Who's That tapping at the window in grade 2. And so in grade 3, I made a song with the same game formation, but it's a new song. And for grade 3, I wanted them practicing 16th notes. That's on my What We Will Learn list for grade 3. So someone's tapping at the window pane. First guesser. Who could it be? The class sings, make that noise some other place. And then the second soloist sings, just try stopping me. So we have 2 guessers, we have 2 solos. And this makes it considerably more challenging for the guessers. And it also makes the game go faster because kids get wiggly in guessing games, and having 2 at a time will speed things up. So this is a song you might not even have gotten to in the grade 3 song list because it's song number 90, but it's a good assessment of pitch for the end of the year. My other big favorite is Mr. Potato Head. And I wrote this song, and I'm quite happy with how this turned out. So in this one, I have a potato head, an actual Mr. Potato Head, and I don't have mine in my little classroom today, but I have a potato head, and I have eyes, the arm, I take the arm off, and I take the feet off. And those are the 3 parts that I take off. So 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4. Poor Mr. Potato Head, he fell onto the floor. 5 potato, 6 potato, 7 potato, 8. Put 'em back together, now I just can't wait. So the class sings that song with their eyes shut. And if you have peekers in your class, you know who I'm talking about, have them cover their eyes up as well. You sing the song, and while you're singing the song, you give out the eyes, the arm, and the feet of Mr. Potato Head. And then teacher sings, "Who has the eyes?" And the child who has the eyes, still with the eyes shut, everybody's got their eyes shut still, but the child who's got them sings, "I have the eyes." Teacher sings, "Who has the arm?" And the child who's got the arm sings, "I have the arm." And then I sing, "Who has the feet?" And the child with the feet sings, "I have the feet." Then everybody opens their eyes. And the ones who have something hidden, they just put it in their lap or behind their back. I usually will ask everybody to put their hands behind their back, so it's not so easy to tell. And then I ask the class to tell me, "Who had the eyes?" And they put their hand up and they answer. They will give me an answer for it. "Tina had the eyes." And then we go on to the arm, and then we go on to the feet. What's kind of funny is when the kids who's holding the eyes waves their hand because they want to tell the class they've got it. And that has happened. But again, great little pitch matching exercise and a great way to assess in a fun way. It's a game. Everybody likes games. And you know what? The kids don't care if they've played this back whenever Mr. Potato Head was in the song list. And I think it's in the song list kind of around St. Patrick's Day. But if they do it at the end of the year, they love these games and they don't mind a bit if they play them more than once. So that is my pitch matching in terms of listening to the kids. But I also want the kids to be able to read pitches. I'm going to share my lovely little cookie sheet tool. So for my littles, if I was doing engine, engine, I'd put the first 2 up and I'd show the kids that. I usually have them working in pairs. I don't have a full class set of these. I have a half class set. So 2 kids work together. And I'd go, engine is the first 2 notes. Are the next notes higher or lower? And then I'd get the kids to figure out that they are lower. They go below the line. Engine, are the next notes higher or lower? Number, and I have one more magnet. 9. So this is how I would do informal assessments with my little guys to see if they can recognize and create higher and lower pitches. My big kids, or even my little kids for that matter, I go to the other side and I'll say the high note is on the second line, the low note goes on the line below, and we call the note on the high note, we call it so, and we call the one on the low note me. So this is a really wonderful tool. I made the staff, and it's on the website. I can't remember where, but it's there. If you search for cookie sheet staff on Musicplay Online, I'm pretty sure where the PDF is will show up. If not, email Denise at musicplay.ca and I'll send it out to you. But what I have to do with my cookie sheet staff, I have to cut 1/2 inch off all the parts of the staff. I have to cut that off. And then I take, it's called sheet protector. And I buy these at Dollarama, but only in Canada is Dollarama. It's not in the US yet. So you're going to have to go to Staples or someplace like that that sells office supplies and find page protector or sheet protector. And it's a little tricky putting this, laminating sheets is another word they call it, self-laminating. And I put this laminating sheet right over top of the staff, and the magnets, beautiful thing is the magnets stick on here. So I can use magnets, and behind me I have a whiteboard. I can use this for whiteboard notation, and because it's laminated, it erases. So this is a really, really handy tool for informal assessments, for practicing solfege, for practicing pitch letter names. I have been in a grade 4 class very irregularly, and I'm teaching them to play recorder, and they are doing remarkably well, but I have to do a lot of hand staff practice, and my hand fits nicely here, so they can really relate the hand staff to this staff. So, class, can you put a magnet on the note B? Can they do it? In fact, that's what I should do with them the next time I see them, is take the cookie sheets in. Because to them, this is a game. Can you move that to the note A? Can you move it to G? Can you put a note on each line? So this is very informal assessing, but it's fun for the kids to do this. And I don't own a full set of these. I only own half a class set. We have a dollar store where they sold these at one point for $1 each. I'm pretty sure they're $1.50 now, but it's still a good deal. The magnets are actually a little bit harder to find than the cookie sheet itself. So if the whiteboard option is better for you, do that instead of the magnets. I really like the magnets. One little trick you have to do, you have to put the magnets in Ziploc bags. Otherwise, they stick to the boards when they're stacked up. And so, yeah, keep the magnets in Ziplocs, and that will work. So those are 2 really easy ideas for assessing pitch letter names. And of course, on the website, we have Solfa Challenge, Note Name Challenge. And I'm going to share my screen and go to those on the website so that you can see. So I'm going to go to the song list, and we used Engine as an example. So I'm going to find Engine number 9. And here is the Solfa Challenge. Gives us directions, and then I input. Now, if I wanted to do this as an exact assessment of what the kids have practiced or seen on the screen, screenshotting is your best friend. So screenshot it, print it, and then it becomes a worksheet, an exact copy of what they've seen on the screen. So I just have to input my answers here, but I would do that with student assistance. Either if you've got an actual smartboard in your room, you can have the kids line up and each of them gets to do 1 beat worth of notes, or if you have a projector just going on to a whiteboard, you could have your kids in class list order again, telling you what the notes are. First child, so, next child, so, next child, me, so, me. And I would go through it as quick as you can. If you don't teach solfege, you can do the same thing with pitch letter names. So here are the pitch letter names, G, G, E, E, G, G, E. If you're in grade 3 or grade 4 where you're transitioning, if you've got a simple reading song, do both. And the solfege still helps kids with their pitches. Okay, I have not left myself enough time to do everything, but you know where the rubrics are. So now I'm just going to go to the examples of easy assessments so we can quickly run through some of the really good options. So for identifying tempo, I love Tony Chestnut. It's one of my favorite songs to do. And if I look up Tony Chestnut's the first song that comes up. And let's do this one together. And I'm going to, again, ask anybody who's got a camera off, turn it on so I can see that you're doing it with me. And I will play the music and we'll show you how to do Tony Chestnut. So I have to put this down where I can see.
Tony Chestnut knows I love you. Tony
nice moderato tempo. Let's try allegro.
Tony Chestnut knows I love you. Tony knows, Tony knows. Tony Chestnut knows I love you. That's what Tony knows.
Okay, can we go presto? Are you ready for this? Here we go.
Tony Chestnut knows I love you. Tony knows, Tony knows. Tony Chestnut knows I love you. That's what Tony knows.
So if I go back to the website, we have an interactive tempo tool that is wonderful for teaching and practicing tempo terms. It's here, it's linked in Tony Chestnut. You can also find it if you go to the toolbox. I mean, these are grade 2s. Let's just call it Largo, Moderato, Allegro for Tony Chestnut. And now we have a rhythm composition that we're going to do at 3 tempos. We're going to do it at Largo. Let's say the rhythm names and clap it together. Here we go. Ta, 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 ti, ti, ta. Ta, ta. And I'm not going to do the repeat. I'm just going to stop it because we're going to switch to moderato. And we're going to try that same example at moderato tempo. Here we go. Ta, sh, ta, sh, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, 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 ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ta, sh, ta, sh. That is fun. Now, up in the right-hand corner, it says teaching slides. If I want to review what those tempo terms mean, I can click on those. And I will see Largo means to play or sing very slowly and broadly. Moderato means to play or sing at a moderate speed. Presto means to play or sing very fast. So I can review those, but let's try the presto tempo. To me, it's more important that they put the musical terms into context than they have those terms memorized. We can memorize that forte means loud, but seeing it and performing it in a piece of music, I think is more important. Ta, 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 ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, 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 ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ta, ta. So that is fun. And if you want to do a printout of all the tempo posters, click on the home button and there's printable posters at the bottom right and you can download and print them. Okay, here's how I would assess this. If I had taught grade 2s, Largo, Moderato, and Allegro, or Presto, what was it? Moderato, Presto, whatever terms I had taught them, I would give them that same little piece of scrap paper and a pencil and a clipboard, and I'd say, question 1, what word means to play slowly and broadly? And if you've said that tempo poem with them multiple times, they will remember. You might even have posters hanging on the wall that show it, but I would perhaps hide those that day or have the kids' backs to them. Question number 2, class, can you remember what word means to play very fast? And they would write down presto. What word means to play fast and lively? And if you taught Allegro, that's what they do. So you only question them on the ones that you've taught in this particular year. But doing the activity, reinforcing with the tempo interactive and posters, and then a quick quiz. That's what I call these pencil and paper things. I call them quick quizzes. It's a really quick way to get a whole bunch of assessments into your grade book and into your plan book. So that is for tempo. Other favorites for teaching tempo, Grand Old Duke of York does the same thing. Tap It Here, Tap It There is in grade 2. That is a very fun game where you do it with beanbags. Tap it here on one leg, tap it here, tap it there, toss it way up in the air, tap it here, tap it there, pass it to a friend. So it's in grade 2. I have done passing games quite successfully with grade 2, and it's fun. Kids really, really like it. I've got some great photos and videos of my students doing it. Another one that's really good is ham and eggs. That has become, that made it onto our music play madness. So ham and eggs, ham and eggs. I like mine fried nice and brown. I like mine flipped upside down. Ham and eggs, ham and eggs. Flip, flop, ham and eggs. And then you would do it with the kids standing up on one side of the room, and then they stand up on the other side of the room. So if you haven't done your 100 squats a day, and you do this with the kids, you will get some really, really good exercise doing it. There's one actually in grade 5 that's fun to do as well, and it's We Love to Sing. So the We Love to Sing is fun. Kids like it. It's a great vocal warm-up, and that is great for tempo. We've talked about pitch. A couple of other guessing games that I didn't talk about. Little Tommy Tittlemouse is a good little guessing game. Concentration are good for hearing kids sing solo. Beginning of the year, I use them to learn names. I might use the same game at the end of the year to assess pitch matching. If you have to do pre-test, post-test, assess at the beginning of the year as your pre-test with concentration. End of the year, it becomes your post-test. Who's That is in English, and it's again involves 2 guessers and 2 solos. So one of those that goes a little bit faster. And Serge, our wonderful French translator, is doing a French translation of it. So if you teach in French, Who's That is coming. One that is already in place in French is Mr. Potato Head. The fun Potato Head game is Monsieur Patate in French. So those are great resources for our French teachers. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about dynamics. With my littles, all I want them to know is loud and quiet. And these patterns are given with Sleepy Bunnies. I cut them out, I put them in my CD envelopes. I get the kids to make patterns with them. Loud, 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 quiet. Let's say it together. Loud, 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 quiet. I've done this again with 3-year-olds. I've done this with 2nd grade, and they love making these patterns. And I invite some child to come up and, okay, make a new pattern out of these. Okay, so we're gonna do this. They just rearrange. It makes a new pattern. But again, in terms of national standards, that's creating for your little guys. Loud, quiet, loud, loud. So these are in Sleepy Bunnies. They may be in a few other places, but I for sure know that they are in Sleepy Bunnies. Now for your older kids, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. This is actually an Artie Almeida idea. I loved her lesson using different dynamics terms. So I've got a fortissimo, I've got a forte, and I don't even know, I think I might be, no, I've got them all here. So you give these out to the kids and they hold it up at the right place in the song. There's actually a very good teacher demo on John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt that shows how to do that. So I teach tempo terms with that. So my quick quiz could be, what Italian word, okay, it's gonna depend on the grade level. Let's go back and start again. Grade 1, grade 2, I might only be doing piano and forte. So my quick quiz might be, what symbol is given for piano? What is the symbol for piano? And they would write P. What is the symbol for forte? They would write F. I might say, what is the musical word that means to play loud? And they would write forte. What is the musical word that means to play soft or quiet? P for piano. I might get really tricky with them and say, what is the musical symbol that means loud? They'd put an F. What is the musical symbol that means soft? P. So those quick quizzes, you adapt to the grade level that you're doing it with. If I'm doing this with 5th grade, I am going to expect that they know all of these, and they also know crescendo and decrescendo. So again, I would probably, maybe with 5th grade, I'd do more than 5 examples with dynamics as a quick quiz. But I can do it without having to go to the photocopier. Some of you are on a tight budget for photocopies, and you're only allowed this many. I've run out of my budget for photocopies in September, and you don't have any photocopies left. So that's where these quick quizzes, just using a blank piece of paper, pencil, clipboard, can really help out. So dynamics, I love closet key. Another idea for dynamics to see if kids are responding, and this would be national standards, would be to have them put the dynamics out in front of them, and I'd have them put them in order from quietest to loudest. That in itself is an assessment. Can they do this? Can I figure out what's the quietest and how does it go in order to the loudest? And underneath, I might put my crescendo and decrescendo. I think I have 2 here. So I would take a song, a listening selection. For example, In the Hall of the Mountain King is a good one. March of the Dwarfs in grade 5 is a really good one. Entry of the Gladiators in listening kit 3. I think Entry of the Gladiators might be selection number 1, 2. It's very, very early in listening kit 3. And I'd have the kids listen and have them point to the dynamic level that they think the music is. Now, not everybody's going to be on the same card at the same time. And sometimes they get loud too quickly and then they've got nowhere to go. They get to the fortissimo too quickly. I could maybe for 5th grade add 3 Fs and 3 Ps. I'm not even sure what you call those, but I know they exist in music because I played them in band. So this is a really good way to see if kids are responding to the music. Can they hear when the music is really quiet? Can they hear when the music is really loud? So for dynamics, I really like these dynamic cards. You will find them on Musicplay Online with the song John Jacob Jingleheimer-Schmidt. We are also working right now on the theory unit and getting the theory unit filled out better. So if you go to Theory Dynamics, those cards should be there as well. Okay, I was going to talk about form and I've probably run out of time. So form is going to have to wait for another day. I would love to have any questions that you have for me. Are there any questions, Danae, in the chat?
I have no questions about this, but I was wondering if you could speak to Musicplay Live and how it would benefit a general music teacher.
I'm glad you asked that because your handouts today are very simple. We basically took the newsletter and then I gave you lots of examples that you can use for doing it. But I spent my day working on a really beautiful handout that is going to be used for the Artie and Denise Live conference because I'm doing more on assessments in the Artie and Denise conference. And you will have a gorgeous handout. You will have a 25% discount on anything to do with themes and variations or music play. So if your school, for example, wanted to buy the package of Musicplay binders and all the digital resources that normally cost $1,600, if you take $400 off the cost of that, it becomes a $1,200 package. That includes 3 years of Musicplay Online, which almost takes off another $600 of that. And that means you end up with the hard copies of Musicplay with all the performance and accompaniment MP3s. You get the performance as well. You can't download them on the website. And you get the all the song videos. So if you teach, like some of our teachers do a lot with Google Slides, and you would rather embed a video in the slide than give a link, with the packages, you can do that. And with Musicplay Live, you get a 25% discount on the package or on anything else that you want. If you come to the Musicplay Live event and you walk away with, a stack of books, you'll get 25% off of those books if you choose to use your code for that. The event is a social gathering as well. I always say this is like summer camp for grown-ups because we have a good time. We've got a conference hotel this time, thanks to Jason's organizing abilities, and it's not hugely expensive in either location. And so Artie and I will be at that hotel. And if you want to visit with us in the evenings, we'll be happy to have a cup of tea with you or an adult beverage if that's what the occasion requires. So it becomes a really fun thing. So Washington, D.C., Danae helped me with the dates, July 11th and 12th?
10th and 11th.
10th and 11th. I know that because I have a niece getting married on the 8th and I have really terrible flights to get there on the 9th. So it's 10th and 11th in Washington, D.C. Wednesday, we're traveling on to Austin, Texas. So whichever you're close to or whichever it's cheapest to get to is going to be your best option. There is university credit available, and the credit is through Adams University in Colorado. And Adams University has provided the credits at a really reasonable cost. It's going to be $100 or less for that credit. And we hire a college professor, actually. We hire Carol McDowell is our helper that does all the administration of the grades and all those kinds of things. Artie and I are too busy. Can't do it. I don't have the know-how. Artie might, but not me. So Carol McDowell is our go-to person for the university credit. But it also helps, the credit helps for people in those places where they don't necessarily recognize Artie and Denise as a PD. We do give the certificate of hours, but the credit makes it it gives us a little more credibility with your administrators. And hopefully some of your administrators will pay for you to come. Actually, I have a teacher in a neighboring community who's booked her flights and is coming to Washington, D.C. And she's extending it as a vacation with her daughter. So it can be a fun time. Do you have a question? Please unmute and ask.
Hello, I'm Christy and I'm in Australia.
Oh, so nice to have you here. Early morning there.
Yes, very early. My question is, how do you give your feedback to the students when you've done those assessments, or do you not, or without crushing them, or, what's a good way to give that feedback to them?
Okay, so for example, when I am doing the listen, where I listen to the whole class singing along with the recording, I listen to the child. And I actually kind of use a code in my book. I use X for excellent, VG for very good, S for satisfactory, and NY for not yet. But to the child, I will say something nice to everybody. You have excellent pitch. You're right in tune. Great sound. You have beautiful tone. Really nice sweater. And I go on and I have something nice to say about everybody, even if they're not matching pitch yet. I had an incident with a 6th grader many years ago, about 30 years ago. And all I had said to this child, you're a little under pitch. And it did exactly what you said. It crushed him. He would not sing for the rest of the year. And I thought I had ruined this child for life. He actually went on and did 2 years of music at Grant MacEwan University in Edmonton. So I didn't completely ruin him for life, but I still feel bad about that. So I do not comment on individual kids. I was a band teacher for many, many years, and I would not often single out an individual player. I'd say, flutes, please check your fingering. This note is F sharp. I see some of this. So please check your fingering. And yes, I will give feedback. I mean, you obviously, if you're doing a quick quiz and you're marking it, if the kid gets none right, we know we have a problem. I might not give those tests back to the kids until I have retaught it, because that's an indicator to me that I haven't done my job. And then I would reteach. And when they've all got 3 or 4 right out of 4, then I would give those back to them. So yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with not wanting to crush the spirit of the kids.
Thank you.
Hi, Denise. I have a question. My name is Amina and I'm from Calgary. Wanted to ask that if I had no knowledge or background about music, and if I attended one of these sessions, which are a 2-day session, would it benefit me?
Oh, absolutely. We often have, we have often had a number of teachers who aren't necessarily Bachelor of Music graduates.
Right.
And because of the way that Artie and I teach, it is not a requirement that you read music to go and have fun at these sessions. You'll find that the activities are so inclusive that everybody can enjoy the activities, and you will just grow and grow and grow as a musician by attending these. And if you are continuing to teach music, I always really encourage you to take your ORF levels. They've been offered in Calgary this spring. I actually put it in the newsletter a couple of times. I think they've started already, but I did my ORF level 1 in Calgary. It was a wonderful course, and there's very good teachers this time. And again, you can go as a generalist and still benefit from doing these courses. Kodai levels, if you get the chance to. Take piano lessons. You know, adult piano students just go whoosh and they learn so fast. I have a son who's been doing adult piano for 2 years. And for some reason, my daughters did piano lessons and he didn't. And I feel bad, but he's done so well as an adult. He's up to about grade 5 or grade 6 conservatory level after 2 years of lessons. And guess what? I don't have to pay for the lessons. It's even better. Join a choir. There's tons of good choirs in Calgary, and I'm sure wherever you are, there's good choirs. So there's lots of opportunities. We have our Serge, our French translator, has a double master's degree already in French literature and Spanish literature, I think is his degree. He taught 30 years at Red Deer College, French and Spanish. He retired, and then he came to help us with the French translations. And he's been he's so enjoyed the learning process of doing the music that he is now a student at the University of Alberta in Edmonton, and he's taking music classes. To me, he's pretty close to my age. He has his 65th birthday on Saturday, and he's learning music for the first time, and he's loving it. He's actually joined a second choir. He drove up to Edmonton tonight to go rehearse with this choir, and that's what you can do as an adult is join choirs, take piano lessons, or whatever lessons you want to take. If you want to learn guitar, you can take guitar. But I would encourage you, if you have the time, the energy after your teaching day, to explore it.
Mm-hmm. And where is this ORFF level thing that you said in Calgary?
It's it was done through the University of Alberta. So I sent it out. Do you get my newsletters?
No.
Okay, if you go to store.musicplay.ca, there's a place you can sign up to get them. I am going to do a quick Google search and see if I can find ORF Levels Alberta. And so yes, it'll show up right away if you search ORF Levels Alberta. This summer, they are being offered at the University of Alberta. It's 2-week courses. And my daughter, the music teacher in Chestermere, is doing her ORF Level 2. So I get 2 grandkids for a week. And Dad gets to stay home with them for a week. So again, big time commitment to go do that for 2 weeks of your summer. When I did my Kodai levels years ago, it was 3 weeks, and that was a killer. That was really hard, giving up 3 out of our 8 weeks of summer vacation. So lots of options.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're very welcome. Thank you, everybody, so much for coming today, and thank you to those who are listening to it as a podcast. I hope to see lots of you at Musicplay Live in Washington, D.C. and in Austin, Texas. Bye now.
Right, perfect. Thanks so much, Denise. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your time with us today. If you would like to earn a PD certificate for this episode, download the accompanying handout, or watch the webinar, please go to workshops.musicplay.ca. See you next time.
It's time for Musicplay.